Josh Hasten here, Israel Uncensored, on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. It is Monday, the 5th of August, 2019, the 4th of Av, 5779. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget, you can get in touch with me during the week, Josh at thelandofisrael.com, on Facebook. It's Joshua Hasten, or my page, Josh Hasten, Israel Advocacy and Journalism, on Twitter at Josh Hasten, of course, Instagram as well. This is the saddest time on the Jewish calendar of the year. We are in the midst of the 9 days leading up to Tisha B'av, which commemorates calamities throughout Jewish history, including the sin of the spies, the destruction of the two temples in Jerusalem, and many other bad things. And they say, our rabbis teach us, that one of the main reasons the temple in Jerusalem, the second temple, was destroyed was because of baseless hatred. My next guest, his goal and the goal of his organization is to lessen that hatred, to lessen all the negativity between Jews of all stripes, religious, secular, right-wing, left-wing, and everyone in between. My guest on the line is JJ Sussman, the International Director of an organization called Gesher. Gesher in English means bridges. It's all about building bridges and unity between the Jewish people. JJ, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Josh. Great to be here.
Did I do an okay job of describing what the goal is of Gesher, the organization you represent?
Yeah, you always do a good job, Josh, first of all. And second of all, yes. Gesher, like you said, it means bridge, and that's what we're all about, building bridges between all the different Jews from all different stripes in Israel and around the world. And I think our tagline really states it best. Our tagline is be different, but be together. And I think that's really what we're all about. There are many different types of Jews with many different views, but the most important thing is for all of us to be one, to be together.
Let me ask you this, JJ. We are approaching an election here in Israel for the second time this year, 2019. And you don't have to go very far to get onto social media, Twitter or whatnot, and see I don't know if you want to call it hate, but you can see the attacks taking place between Jews who are running for government, our politicians, our leaders who are slamming each other each and every day leading up to the election. I mean, that kind of goes against, it would seem, everything your organization represents. I mean, how do you maintain or try to maintain good relations with your neighbors who may have a different political leaning than you do, when you see from top down, you see of our leaders here slamming each other?
So, the elections certainly highlight that issue, which you stated so correctly, unfortunately. But I think you as a journalist, probably when you walk around the Knesset and you see these leaders who, in the press or in social media are seemingly so hateful to one another, and then you see them sitting down for a cup of coffee with one another and talking, still with their deep-seated disagreements. But once you have that face-to-face meeting, you recognize that the person on the other side of the table is a Jew and is a person. You can find common denominators to which to respect that person, or to at least listen to that person, and still deeply disagree with that person and disagree with that person's views and policies, but still do so from a sense of love. I think in your beginning you stated that one of the main reasons that we're commemorating this time of year is that the temple was destroyed because of baseless hatred. And I think that our challenge, specifically during this time of year, but even throughout the year, is to correct that with baseless love. And it's easy to love somebody with whom you agree. The challenge is really to find that avenue to love somebody and to respect somebody and to tolerate somebody with whom you have deep disagreements with. But that's what we're challenged to do, and that's what our organization is all about, to create those points of meeting so that those stereotypes can begin to be shattered, and you can recognize that there's really a person behind those views and policies, and find other avenues with which to connect to them. If not, even if you have those deep policy disagreements or different viewpoints on how we should be enacting policy in Israel or for the Jewish people.
So what are some of the strategies you implement over there at Gesher in order to make that happen? How are you able to bring Jews together, whether it's the religious secular divide, perhaps, that's keeping people apart, or the political divide, right wing, left wing, center, people with different positions. What are some of the things that you have found effective in order to actually bring people together?
So I think I just stated it in the previous answer. The real secret, if I sum it all up, is mifgash, is creating a space where people can meet, where and having a face-to-face meeting goes, I'll use a football analogy because I know some people on the line like football, is 9 out of the 10 yards towards that first down and breaking down those barriers. Having people not just hide behind their keyboards and type all this vitriol, but to step out in front of those keyboards and meet the person behind that comment on that Facebook post, and recognize that it's a real person, and that goes very far down the road in terms of breaking down those barriers and shattering those stereotypes without hiding the disagreements. I think it's important to recognize that we don't try to change people's opinions, and we don't try to shift people's opinions per se in the work that we do, but to recognize that while you don't have to agree with me, I do want you to love me, and I do want you to recognize that we all have this shared heritage, and to create that we all have this common heritage and shared heritage, and we all are aiming towards that ultimate destiny together. And we may have different views of how to get there. That's fine. But we're all part of one people. So some of the programs are to create that space and to bring people together, sometimes in small groups, people from differing opinions, with leaders who then can go back out to their followers and talk with a new sense of a newfound respect for people of different opinions, and sometimes with larger groups in the various melting pots that exist in Israeli society, whether it's in the army or in schools, bringing different schools together, a religious and a secular school, and have a facilitated program. So various types of programs like that is where we spend our time.
Yeah, I want to stress on to piggyback on that. I mean, with all what it seems like hate and whatnot on social media or whatnot, I mean, there is a commandment, I would call it, as part of the Torah, which says that it is not allowed for a Jew to hate another Jew. And I think you described that you're allowed to have disagreements or, let's say, hate or dislike someone's particular actions. But in terms of the actual person, it is against the Torah. It is not a Torah value to actually hate another individual, another Jew. I want to ask you, in terms of this Tisha B'av, Saturday night, Sunday, or the days leading up to it, which we're in right now, the 9 days, is there anything special you guys are doing in terms of programming? Is there a specific program that you guys are going to be hosting in the week ahead that people might want to know about?
So what I like to, what the 9 days is really great about doing is it highlights and brings to the fore all of the stuff that we spend the entire year working on. So while there's no specific Gesher program happening this year, the fact that there are so many programs happening talking about how to get along with one another, having people from different, sides of the spectrum coming together with evenings that they call now, tonight we're not learning Torah, because there's a commandment not to learn Torah on Tisha B'av, on the 9th of Av, but they're bringing together Yair Lapid together with an ultra-Orthodox member of Knesset to talk on the same panel. So it's almost like a huge success for us that so many people are doing what we spend the entire year trying to work on. And I think that's what we hope can happen from this time period, that if we bring the issue to the fore now and recognize that now is the time where we can all talk about it, hopefully all of our energies can be raised, that it can last us throughout the year and not just focus on these 9 days, but really throughout the entire calendar. And like you said, we now have a second election this year, and that's a time in Israel when a lot of these issues come out, and you really have a sense that there's this deep hatred, which sometimes is real and sometimes is manufactured. But if we can all step above it and recognize that someone on the other side of the line or the other side of that Facebook post is also a person and also wants what's best for the Jewish people and for the country, I think we'll have succeeded.
JJ Sussman, International Director of Gesher, building bridges between Jews here in Israel and all over the world. I want to thank you for your time. If you can, just let people know how they can reach you or how they can see more about what this amazing organization is doing.
So we're on Facebook at Gesher Org, and our website is gesher.co.il. You can reach me at jj@gesher.co.il, or through thelandofisrael.com and Josh Hasten.
I'm happy to direct people.
Regularly.
Happy to direct people over to you, JJ. I appreciate your time. Have a meaningful fast. Keep up the important work you're doing, and let's talk again soon.
Thanks. Always great to be on the show, guys.
We are going to take a short break right now and come back with news. You're listening to Israel Uncensored on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. Keep it locked in right here. We'll be right back.
Inside Israel Today normally deals with what's going on behind the scenes in Israeli politics. This week's show deals with the Lion King.
Simba, you must remember who you are.
And its connections to Zionism.
The one true king.
Why is The Lion King a Zionist movie?
Come home.
Find out on Inside Israel Today on the Land of Israel Network on thelandofisrael.com.
And we are back. Josh Hasten here, Israel Uncensored on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. It is Monday, the 5th of August, 2019, the 4th of Av, 5779. Thanks so much for joining us. You can get in touch with me during the week, Josh at thelandofisrael.com. On Facebook, it's Joshua Hasten, or my page, Josh Hasten, Israel Advocacy and Journalism, on Twitter, at Josh Hasten, and on Instagram as well. Let's get to some news here. Maayan Jaffe Hoffman from the Jerusalem Post reports that terrorists responsible for the 2002 Hebrew University of Jerusalem cafe bombing have thus far received, get this, $1,257,259 in the Palestinian Authority's Pay for Slay program, actually reported by Palestinian Media Watch in a report it released to mark the 17th anniversary of the attack. I made Aliyah actually in 2002. I immigrated from the U.S. to Israel, and I remember that bombing, along with many other bombings which were taking place during the Oslo War, as I call it. Just a very difficult time to be here in Israel. Nevertheless, we prevailed. We prevailed, thank God, thanks to our military Operation Protective Edge, I believe it was called, back in 2002. The bombing at the Mount Scopus campus, in which 9 people were killed, including 5 Americans, injuring more than 80, was planned and perpetrated by a member of a Jerusalem Hamas cell during what it says here, the Second Intifada. I call it the Oslo War, when Yasser Arafat rejected the offer from Prime Minister Barak and decided to launch a war of terror. 6 members of that terror cell, serving multiple life sentences in Israeli prisons for this attack and others. But those who carried out this attack are millionaires. You murder a Jew, according to the Palestinian Authority, we will make you a millionaire for carrying out these attacks. And these are supposed to be our peace partners, right? I don't know what the deal of the century is going to include, but the first thing I would do if I was the U.S. administration is I would send, the Israel should have done this a long time ago, I would send the Palestinian Authority packing for this specific reason. They support terrorists and their families, and I don't know why we should put up with that. Speaking of terrorists, the weekly so-called March of Return on the Gaza-Israel border happened yet again this past Friday. According to the Post, approximately 6,000 Arabs gathered on the Gaza Strip border fence on Friday, holding the weekly demonstration. I call it the weekly attempted infiltration into Israel to try to murder as many Jews as possible. And present there, being raised along with a flag of the PA, was a swastika. This according to the IDF spokesperson's unit. Swastika seen underneath the PA, or some call it the Palestinian, whatever that means, flag. So you have Nazi symbols, you have attempted infiltrations, you have last week a shooting attack, an attempted attack against IDF soldiers in which 3 soldiers were wounded. That is who we're dealing with there on the Gaza border. Modern day Nazis or Nazi supporters whose goal is to destroy Israel and the Jewish people. Again, this past Friday here in Israel along the border with Gaza. Here's some positive news. Belgium suspending funding for UNRWA. According to Tova Lazaroff in the J-Post, Belgium has temporarily, which isn't great, but at least temporarily suspended its funding to UNRWA. That's the organization, of course, which perpetuates the conflict, keeping the Arabs who fled here in 1948 as so-called refugees and their descendants, who are somehow refugees as well, keeping them in these neighborhoods in which they are indoctrinated to hate Israel. Belgium, the latest country after several other European countries, the Netherlands and Switzerland, also suspending payments for UNRWA. Why? Because UNRWA is under investigation for all different types of there are all different types of accusations levied against UNRWA. Ethical misconduct amongst senior staff, and all these different types of allegations. I'm fine with the suspending of the aid to UNRWA. UNRWA should be shut down, actually. But the reasoning here, it shouldn't just be because of these allegations into ethical misconduct. I mean, that's bad enough, but as I mentioned before, these nations should stop funding UNRWA because of the fact that they are essentially encouraging the Arabs under their control to demand a so-called right of return, which is not a right in any way, shape, or form, in which they don't have. They're trying to destroy the state of Israel by overrunning it demographically, by encouraging all of these Arabs to stay where you are. One day you'll go back to what was your villages before 1948. That's the goal of UNRWA. They're not here to resettle any refugees or end any crisis. They are here just to perpetuate the conflict over and over. The U.S. stopped funding UNRWA, and all the other countries should as well, for the fact that, not just because of the fact that they're just a poorly run organization with ethical misconduct, but the fact that, well, in essence, they do have issues with ethical misconduct when it comes to Israel. The Likud yesterday, and Prime Minister Netanyahu, I would see this as a victory for him. The 40 top candidates on the Likud slate signed some sort of document indicating they are united behind the Prime Minister and do not intend to replace him. You have different parties out there, whether it's Avigdor Lieberman or Benny Gantz. All these other parties are saying that perhaps we will sign a coalition agreement with the Likud, but we prefer if Netanyahu is not the leader of the party. They're trying to encourage the other members of the Likud under Netanyahu to abandon ship, I don't know if they want them necessarily to join their parties or join their ranks, but they would like to basically dethrone Netanyahu from the top slot of the Likud, but the top 40 signing their allegiance. I don't know if this is a legally binding document. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but 40 candidates signing their allegiance to Netanyahu. And then we had other election news over the weekend. Avigdor Lieberman saying that he wants a coalition with Likud and blue and white. He is trying to be, and he might actually be, depending on how people vote, the kingmaker in this upcoming election. He could, in fact, have the power to decide if he will nominate the prime minister, and there will be a right-wing government, or he could turn around and decide that he's going to support Benny Gantz in the blue and white, and in that case, there is a chance that we would have a left-wing run government. Of course, as I mentioned before, always a chance that there will be a coalition government with blue and white and Likud. That remains to be seen. Stay tuned here on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com as we head towards the September 17th election for the 22nd Knesset. We have you covered. I'm sure especially Gil Hoffman in his show will be interviewing many of the politicians who are running for the next Knesset. Here is a Kiddush Hashem, a sanctification of God's name by a 14-year-old, mature beyond his years, a 14-year-old chess prodigy from Israel. according to Times of Israel, has turned down 2 free trips to India and to Slovakia to compete in international chess competitions because they are scheduled to fall out on Jewish holidays. Yair Hoffman is his name, the 14-year-old chess prodigy, Israeli chess prodigy from the religious Tzvia High School in Petah Tikva. He declined invitations to play at this month's European Youth Championship in Bratislava because the chess matches or tournament would fall out on Shabbat and on Tisha B'av, which is this Saturday night and Sunday, the saddest day on the Jewish calendar, which we fast, day of fasting and mourning. He said he would not play on those days, on Shabbat and on Tisha B'av. He also turned down an opportunity to compete at the World Youth Chess Championship in India because it is on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the Jewish year. Obviously, this kid has his priorities straight, realizing there are more important things than even his passion to play chess. Jewish holidays, important Jewish holidays, namely Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year, and Tisha B'av, the saddest day of the year. So we have to say congratulations to Yair Hoffman. Apparently he has a sponsor who helps him attend these competitions, and he will be attending other competitions to play chess, representing the state of Israel. Congratulations for him for sanctifying God's name and sanctifying the Jewish people and the people of Israel. So I think that deserves, by the way, this reported Times of Israel JTA article deserves a definite shout-out. One last item in the news. Always like to conclude with something that was also positive, but something exceptional as well. J-Lo and A-Rod, Jennifer Lopez, performed here in Israel in Tel Aviv this past week at Park HaYarkon in front of approximately 60,000 fans. She came along with her baseball all-star husband, Alex Rodriguez, A-Rod as he is known. And what was the best thing about this? Again, I heard the show was amazing. It got a great review in the J Post and in other places, and people I know who went said it was an unbelievable show. And even at the age of 50, J-Lo still has it. She still got it. She hasn't lost it. The most amazing thing about their time in Israel was that they were constantly posting on social media they have millions and millions of followers, whether it was Instagram or Facebook or whatnot, talking about how beautiful and wonderful Israel is and how wonderful the people are here and how they were treated so well and so nice. And that is just PR or public diplomacy that you cannot buy. All of the government, no offense, but all of the government programs to try to combat anti-Israel hate and BDS and all this other stuff, I'm not saying they're bad and I'm not saying they're not effective, but 3 days in Israel from J-Lo and A-Rod, 2 A-listers in the world of music and acting and Hollywood and sports, those 2 A-listers, and posting on social media to their millions of people explaining the reality of the situation here in Israel, that is just something that you cannot buy. So it's great that she was here, and it's great that she came, J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez, despite the hate that she was getting from the BDS camp trying to discourage her. And I saw quotes from her manager saying, not a chance, we would never cancel this trip and give in to those haters. So thank you very much. I think we owe them, as you say in Hebrew, hakarat hatov. You have to thank them for sanctifying and really going to bat. There you have a baseball reference for the state of Israel, for the land of Israel, and it's just an unbelievable thing. So I want to give them a big shout out, J-Lo and A-Rod, and hopefully they'll be back here as well for future shows. A-Rod, by the way, was talking about bringing more baseball here to Israel, saying maybe they should play a major league game here as part of their international series. That remains to be seen. Anyway, that's going to do it for today. For those of you fasting this coming Saturday night and Sunday on Tisha B'av, the saddest day in the Jewish calendar, commemorating the destruction of the 2 temples and calamities throughout Jewish history, have a meaningful fast. My name is Josh Hasten for Monday, August the 5th, 2019, the 4th of Av, 5779, coming to you from Jerusalem. Big shout out to Binyamin Bresky for all the technical work he does, Tabitha Epstein for getting these shows up. Get in touch with me during the week, Josh@thelandofisrael.com, on Facebook, Joshua Hasten, or my page, Josh Hasten, Israel Advocacy and Journalism, on Twitter at Josh Hasten, and on Instagram as well. Most importantly, between now and when we speak again, please God, next Monday, everybody out there in the wonderful world of ours, be safe. Shalom, shalom from another beautiful day here in Jerusalem, the eternal capital of the state of Israel and the Jewish people. Shalom.
This week on the Yishai Fleischer Show, a pro-Israel Saudi Arabian blogger gets harassed on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem.
The real truth is he's a proxy for anti-Israel hate. The fight, most vehemently, is against Arabs who want to normalize relations with the Jews. That's who the most dangerous person is.
For the full show, download the Yishai Fleischer Show on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com.